Okay, hey, welcome to another episode of On Point EDC. Today we have a cool update for you from the brand Big Idea Designs. They're an EDC gear company that started back in 2009, who are headquartered out of Chattanooga, Tennessee, and manufactured out of China with globally sourced components. They're most known for their super adjustable EDC pens that can fit hundreds of different refills. In terms of the product type, I'd consider this a custom pen, some key characteristics and design language. When you're looking for something within this space, of course, you're going to want that distinct, unique design language, something that's fun and fidgetable in terms of its actuation, and you'll also be looking for premium materials and construction. This is their newer slim click pen in the Stonewashed titanium, and it's essentially everything you loved from their original click EDC pen, but now in this slimmer body profile. So basically these pens were designed to let you have full control over your writing experience with that adjustability, but now the nice thing is these are all internally adjustable to adapt to different shapes and sizes of refills, and the front tip call it to minimize tip wiggle while writing. These do come standard with a Schmidt P900 Parker style ballpoint refill, and these do have a lifetime warranty as well. You can get these for $100 directly from Big Idea Designs. And with that said, let's go ahead, zoom the camera out, get this piece in hand, and take a closer look. Okay, now before we dive in, quick customary wristwatch check. As you can see, this is actually from Big Idea Design. This is their titanium field watch by RZE Watches, and I do have it on this great single pass strap from Haviston. So great pairing, and that's what's on my wrist as I'm doing this, in case you're wondering. And if you want the full review, definitely check my channel history for more. But in the meantime, there's this bad boy. So I'd say they're probably most known, of course, for the previous generations of this, but also for their bolt action pen. So I think it'd be nice to just bring that into frame so you guys can see one versus the other. These are actually both the Stonewashed titanium finish. You can see very, very comparable in terms of their aesthetic, but the actuation is different here versus, and it's a silent, smooth click. So not a lot of audible clicking action there, but it is quite smooth and quite solid feeling. So if I give that a good shake, there's nothing loose that's happening inside, which is very nice. And actually, while we have the box here, you can see that it does come with a few tools. I won't get too much into that, but basically you do have this spanner here to remove the top piece, so you can adjust the clip in case you overbend it or something like that. And then there's a two-piece for the internal if you really want to break things down even more. So there's that. What other goodies do we get? Of course, the keyring for that, an extra, and also an extra, as you can see, extra spring, if we can focus, and then even a gasket mixed in there too. So you can see, nice to have a couple of extras in terms of maintenance, especially when you have something like this that you're paying a little bit extra for, right? And you're wanting to kind of have that long term there. So this is a really, really nice looking, aesthetically pleasing pen, guys. I've always been fond of the designs, but before, with the external kind of rotation that they had, it had a bit of a thicker chamber and it looked a little bit clunky to me, just the general shape, not necessarily the execution of it. But it was nice to kind of see that they did release this, so I do appreciate Big Idea Designs for sending this over for me to check out. So you are getting this nice Stonewashed finish, which is nice and dark, and it does of course match if you do have a matte blasted timepiece that's made out of titanium. Then, oh, look at that, the timer was set there. Another cool feature, rotating timing bezel. Very cool, very different, very unique, and again, something I think that Big Idea Designs is known for. So the nice thing is, depending on what internal refill you decide to use, will depend on pretty much your imagination, because this is adjustable. You basically just turn this right here, and as you spin it, you'll be getting some movement in terms of the tip. So you can see there, you can have it retract in. So let's say you had a longer one or a shorter one, then it gives you some room, and I like it right about there because it kind of matches the little drawing. So there's a little bit of flat lip coming out, so that's what I do. I kind of just try to mimic that, and it works for me. Just that little bit of flat lip, and then yeah, I really enjoy that that's all internally mechanized. Now, I'm not huge on trying out all types of crazy, different refills. I just like stuff that works, and typically I'm just going to stick with what works. But it is nice to have that flexibility, because you never know what'll get discontinued, what'll change, what'll be a future standard. So that does have a little bit of a future-proof nature to this. And then of course, I think the design is quite future-proof because it's very, very clean. It definitely has a nice minimalist, very modern aesthetic. Also, you can readjust this. So if you overstretch this, maybe you put it in a really thick pant, and when you're pulling it out or something, you overbend the clip. The nice thing is you can take it apart, rebend the clip, and they've already thought of that. So I think that's pretty nice. You can also see that the little seam here, I think, blends in nicely with the other contouring. As I've said in my previous reviews, it would be nice, I think, if they continued these lines basically equally on this side of the seam, so that the seam would be in the middle instead of at the top. I think it would help kind of create some nice symmetry, as well as give you just a little bit more space to grip. Not that this is inadequate, but I think visually it might look more appealing as well, and just kind of elongate this section and make it feel more like a third, of the pen is this, a third of the pen is that, a third of the pen is that. So in terms of proportions, I think it would just visually be a bit more appealing. So if you're listening, Big Idea Designs, that's pretty much my only design critique. In terms of the length, 5.5 inches, only 9.6 millimeters thick, and about 0.9 ounces. So slightly under an ounce, but it still feels really quite substantial. That's with the refill inside and everything. And I gotta say, it's nice. And I don't really get into writing, reviewing that portion of it, because really you can put in any, especially for this particular pen, you can put in, any of your preferred refills. It's not really intrinsic to the pen itself. That's more about the ergonomics in hand. And as a lefty, this feels really nice. And again, in terms of functionality, this little grip kind of engraving is totally fine there, because that's really where it lays. That's all the only place you need it. But I think, again, visually it might look better if you just had the lines carrying through a little higher up as well, kind of mirroring the lower section. Very smooth, very balanced. Again, that nice silent click action feels very premium. You can hear a little, maybe a touch of grittiness, but nothing terrible, nothing to where I'm wanting to open things up and clean it off. I mean, there's going to be some level of, friction that's going to be happening between these moving parts. And then when we get into the pocket clip, it's actually customizable, which is cool. So when you take this off, what you can do is you can actually replace it with a different one if you want, like maybe one that's like made out of Damascus or something like that. So that is a nice little area in terms of really adding some level of customization. And then in terms of model variations, this is the TI Stonewashed. There's also another titanium version that is black coated. There's also one that has a raw finish, similar to what you'll see on this, basically. So it's going to have more of the raw machined look versus having that tumbled stonewash finish. And then there's also brass, copper, and those are all pretty much the same price. But then once you get to zirconium, it's $250. And then in terms of comparable options. I mean, let's get this out of the way. In terms of the EDC space, titanium pens, they are a plenty fun, fidgetable bunch. And at this price point, at $100, most of them, at least most of the best ones anyway, are made in the USA. So either you're gonna have stuff that typically is overseas that's cheaper, or you're gonna have stuff that's made in the USA that's a little bit more expensive. This is somewhere in the middle because it's totally an American brand, of course, but these are produced overseas, so it is, you know, there is some savings there on their part for production. But I will say, with the added terms of development and design, by having the internally adjustable mechanism so you can fit different things, those things, shouldn't be completely discounted just because it's made overseas. You can see the little collet there, and then you can see that's meant to help prevent tip wiggle. There's a touch, if I force it, but not enough to where if I was to be writing with it, I would ever feel anything that felt loose or out of tolerance. So that's very, very nice. So yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. It's tough. I know some people will probably say, hey, for $100, I want it USA made. But you know what? A lot of that stuff is going up as well. So, so it's definitely something to think about. I think there's a reason why these are so popular. It's a lot of times because it's just a nice aesthetic. It looks really great. It's well designed. It has cool features that really other pens that I've seen don't have. Do you really need to have these features? No, but they're nice to have and they're fun to have and they do add value. So in terms of kind of that within your mindset of your value proposition, it's up to you if you really are going to go that direction one way or the other. But I will say this thing definitely holds its own. It's not some premium luxury product, but for most of you, that's not really what it's meant to be. Same thing like when you think about a field watch, right? So a field watch, isn't, for a lot of people, isn't this super premium thing. Like, you want it to be rough and tumble, very robust, and be just good enough for what you need it for. But of course, there are some examples of really expensive field watches that are really refined and have all these extra bells and whistles, and are produced in Switzerland, and all these kind of nuanced things that do add some subjective value. Similar, I'd say, for a pen, right? For some people, this will be absolutely good enough, and at $100, these have been still selling like hotcakes. So I'm sure they're going to keep selling. So I would say the value is there. Enough people are buying them, of course. And the competition is the competition. I think it's not necessarily super spread out. I think it's tough competition when you do have stuff that can be produced in Texas or Hawaii that is really of a high grade and a high standard. But of course, those designs are going to be a little bit more simplistic, a little bit less versatile in terms of the refills that they're made for. So there is a bit of a trade-off. It's not like one is 100%, hey, this is better than the other. It just depends on what you personally value for the EDC pen that you're thinking about carrying around. So for me, guys, the bottom line here is, if you're interested, particularly in kind of a particular niche refill, or just like the idea of kind of endless options and really being future proof, I think you'll find value here. If you don't really care, you can probably find something else that's going to be a little bit higher spec around the same price that's USA made, or you can find something cheaper that that will be also not that much different, maybe a couple notches down, but in the $50 range as well. That's going to be quite competitive. So for me, though, this thing is sweet. The aesthetic is there, the design's there. I like the thoughtfulness within the packaging, within the extras, within the maintenance, within the internal integration. And before this change, before the slim models came out, it really wasn't, it really wasn't for me. But I thought that them taking that and putting it inside and internally kind of tucking everything and doing that, for me, I thought was very, very cool and totally worth it. And definitely happy that I asked to kind of take a look at this piece. So with that said, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. If you like the video, please do it like. And if you haven't already, please subscribe for more content just like this. Thanks, guys.